Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Ozigbo Yokosa. Welcome to your talk show, the ACE Youth Empowerment Show, and all about empowerment. And this week, we have 4 young, inspiring entrepreneurs who are going to be sharing with us how they conquered their various sectors. And to start with,
I'm CEO of the Light Valley.
Ahmed Blessing, CEO and founder of Einstein Limited.
I am Goodness Adewale, Geros Technology.
Dr. Lamazisi, editor, Daily Mint magazine.
so these are the 4 lovely, inspiring entrepreneurs I have with me today. And Emeke, I love you to tell us what inspired you.
Okay, like always my mom said, charity begins at home. I'm the last of 8 children and I have 5 sisters who are married. And I was really young then, but I observed that when they were preparing for the wedding, they had issues finding event halls. So I thought about it. It's the best is from the internet, so that's what it's like.
Awesome, really awesome. So Goodness, please tell us how you raise capital for your business.
Thank you very much. As an entrepreneur, it was not easy starting as an entrepreneur. It was not easy starting off, but I was able to leverage on my personal savings as my kickoff. I deprived myself of so many things, the pleasures of now, spendings of now, and all that. But I realized that saving, my personal savings actually helped a great deal. So that when I delivered my first product out of my savings, cash began to flow in through various means, and it actually helped a great deal. Thank you.
Very cool, awesome, thank you. Please, could you tell us how you build your customer base?
Personally, I believe in quality and creativity. Once there's quality, the customers just flow. Once there's quality in what they are approaching, they just stick there. They are, and then for creativity, you know you're coming up with something new every time you open that website. So they are always eager to come on. And one time I posted something beautiful, and Genevieve came across it, and she loved it, and she shared my name without me asking her. And because of her fan base, people just came and they loved what they saw, and they kept coming.
That's really good. So fan base and everything, once you write something that really makes sense, you get it out. Also, could you tell us your first job? Which kind of first job?
Okay, my first job as an editor of the Mint magazine wasn't so easy due to the company structure. The company is a startup, so I had to do the sourcing of articles, I had to source for adverts and all. I can remember going to Pepsi to ask them to place their adverts on my magazine, and the marketing manager telling me to go and come back when I'm established. So I left, and with all, I knew I had what it takes to pull it off, so I kept on going and pursuing. Then I got to MTN, and I got the job. I put a very big price for my price rate, and I got the job, and I believe it was just God that helped me, and that was how my first job went.
Now, Emeke, I'm going to ask you to tell us how you managed to merge your school life with your business life, how you make everything happen, going to chapel, going to car, and still running your business. How did you do that?
Firstly, in the words of Peter F. Drucker, he said that time is the scarcest resource of a manager. So you can manage time. If you can't manage time, you can't manage anything. So I stuck to that word, and it really helped me. And I read some books. I read a book, Time Management by Brian Tracy. It really helped me in prioritizing and like that. So it was awesome.
Listen, if you had a chance to start all over, would you do anything differently?
I would do nothing differently. Because the mistakes I've made, somehow in one way or the other, framed the person I am now. I see it as chisel and mallet, and my life has moved, and every mistake has somehow framed me and taught me something new to produce a very beautiful artwork. The only thing I can do now is add to the knowledge I've already gained. And I read something recently, and it said, smart people make mistakes, but intelligent ones meet the smart ones to avoid that mistake. So I've made mistakes, I'm smart. Now it's time for me to be intelligent in China and learn from those people that are smart and making mistakes and avoid mistakes altogether. Mistakes and success are equally beautiful experiences.
So Godwill, do you have a plan to take your business forward, like on a global scale? Do you have that plan?
Yeah, as my friend rightly said, charity begins at home. So we plan on making good impact in our country before going to other countries. But as we have freelance writers, travel writers in some other countries. So our name has been mentioned once or twice in several countries. So we plan on making it bigger than that.
Awesome. Really awesome. So Goodness, do you have an exit strategy or at all, do you think it is necessary if you have one?
Okay. The idea of the exit strategy, I believe, is functionally dependent on your goal and objective as a company. But for us at Kelo Technology, would you not think of failure? Would you not think of not succeeding? But being able to pass and inject this mentality to every of our employees to tell them that it's either we win or we win. So every day, every employee comes and knows that this is the project you have to work on and you have to be successful at it.
Sorry, can I cut you there? I believe an exit strategy is extremely important. If you have done your background check before starting up your business, you will see it everywhere that a good business needs an exit strategy. It doesn't necessarily mean that you would fail. It's just a getaway plan. What if you do?
Yeah, I was able to come across this quote by a very famous media Martin Luther King Jr. He said, the moment you think of what to do if you fail, that moment you started failing. Now, we don't have that time, we have enough sense to start to think of what to do if you fail, so we don't think of failure. Now, I believe with this kind of mentality, you can be more focused on the company about succeeding than having excess memory of thinking about fail.
Most of the people that fail never think of failure, but if you...
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll have to pause here. We'll be back after the short break. Stay tuned, don't touch that down. Thank you.
So, yes, you have an exit strategy.
You are going to start the battle either to win or to lose.
What people have,
You.
so how do I get...
You're welcome back from a short break. And before we went on the short break, we had a deliberation for the exit strategy. And we'll be asking Emeke now for his take on the exit strategy.
Okay, I think exit strategy is necessary. Like wise man once said, if A doesn't work, you have to try other alphabets. So I think it's very, very necessary.
Interestingly, I don't believe in an exit strategy. I believe in having several options to a challenge and not running away from the challenge.
If I might answer that, you're not running away from any challenge. You just have a backup plan, of which having other options is a backup plan. So yes, you have an exit strategy. And one more thing, have you ever wondered why cars have emergency doors as well as airplanes? Are they planning to crash?
Yeah, they have, but have you ever used one?
People have used, it has saved lives.
I've used one before. Against EBS Pascal, I had to pick up the emergency. I personally just have used one, so I don't know. So you're saying?
Okay. Yeah, one more thing. I heard of this very great warrior that went to this team, and as they crossed the decision, they had to burn all their ships. Why? Because they had no exit strategy. They were going to fight the battle either to win or to win.
You didn't answer my question, so I'm not satisfied. I think you should do more research on it.
I think as long as they have not used one exit or emergency.
But people have.
Have you?
So wait, how do I get out of a plane that's about to crash with a parachute if there is no exit?
Your company.
Okay, I'm sorry for the second time I have to cut it short. So this is a real good opinion from all of you, but I'll stick to mine. I believe the choice is yours to have a lead strategy or not. The choice is yours. So thank you. Now, Emeke, so what do you attribute your success?
Okay, I'm a risk taker, so I think that's what I think.
Goodness.
Smart work. You have to know how to work smart and not put all your energy most times in things that are not worth it.
Lesson.
Creativity, and I love to dare the impossible.
Also,
I'm persistent and I don't have an exit strategy.
also. So thank you very much for your time, Emeke. Blessing, I'm also you look really lovely today. Thank you very much. Goodness, thank you for your time. Goto, thank you for your time. So there you have it. To round up your show, Ace Youth Show. Thank you. Stay tuned. Next week we'll be right here again, same time, same channel. And for the viewers at home, stay tuned for the Ace Surprise Game Show. Just send in names of all the entrepreneurs today and you could just stand a chance to win the lovely prize. Thank you. I'm your host, Osboye Owosa.
Hello there. Good evening and welcome to the A Show. For some weeks now, we've been talking on the theme, taking the lead. Today, our panel here will be taking us further on the topic. We've all come across Robert Kiyosaki's statement that A students work for C students and B students work for the government. So today, our panel here will be unraveling to us if this is truly the situation, and if so, why. Will you please quickly introduce yourself?
My name is Opayemi Okewo. I am Obi Chukuma.
I'm Ojozi Esiose.
And I use again on the radio.
Ofwe, will you please tell us who is the A student?
Okay, thank you very much, Chidi. The A student, first I'll start with the definition of A. In most schools, anywhere that you go, A is above 70 or 80. So we can say A student is a person that from nursery school, primary school, secondary school has scored those percentages and above. Even in the university, these guys, they come out with the best results ever. They're the first class. You can put them, you can always recognize them wherever you go. And they score in the top 10% of the class. If you have a class of 120 students, they will get 15th position and above. These are the A students.
OJ, will you please tell us who is the C student?
Well, The C student is the person that does not really do too well in his class. The lecturers don't really like them because they don't give them what they want. Either they do it on purpose or they really don't know what to give the lecturer. There are those of them that, there are those of them that get from, as the name implies, C, D, and below. So those are basically who the C students are.
Thank you. Shooks, will you please tell us the qualities of the A students?
I mean, we've said they always come on tops in class. So what would you say they do to attain that height?
The A students are very detailed and structured. They are very disciplined and diligent when it comes to their schoolwork. And this pressure that they put into the schoolwork makes them the lecturers favorite. They are very disciplined in what they do.
His, will you please tell us about the C students? You said he doesn't quite get there when it comes, he's quite at the bottom. So what would you say makes him this way?
Well, the C students are the students that they go in search of their own answers. They do not follow the norm, whatever has been set already. So, and they're basically dreamers. That's who the C students are.
Okay, thank you. Now, we've said that the A student is always at the top of the class. So that must mean that he's getting one or two things right. So what would you say is the strength of the A student?
Okay, the A student is a detailed person, and also he's very precise in what he learns from the lecturer. You see him always seated at the front of the class. He's the one that is willing to ask questions. And whenever any student needs some sort of tutorship, it's the A students that you normally run to give this kind of tutorship. So the strength is such that in their work, they go back home and they do more. They say there's a research that says that a normal A student reads 40 to 50 hours a week. That is so huge, and it shows you the amount of work and diligence that an A student puts into his academics.
Thank you very much. That's great. OJ, I myself have been in a screening process for a job interview, and I was given instructions not to take anyone that had lower than a second class offer. And the funny thing is that the person giving me this instruction himself did not go to secondary school. So I think we can classify him as a C student. So now, obviously, he has been empowered by some things. So what would you say is one of the strengths that he must have had?
Well, based on what we've seen in the entrepreneurial world right now, one of the advantages or the strengths of the C students is that they are very imaginative. Even if you realize this when they are in class, when the lecturer is teaching or the teacher is teaching, their minds tend to wander. They are thinking of different things. Many of these things look very unrealistic. But the idea is that if you look at the business world right now, most of the things that have been made, most of the new inventions that have come up through a very imaginative and creative mind, a mind that is willing to think what others are not willing to think. Another advantage of the another strength of the C student is that they are very good risk takers. Looking at their results, they realize, man, I can't really do anything with these results. I have to sit up in other things. And so at that point in time, they have nothing else to lose. So they decide they have nothing else. Basically, they have nothing else to lose. So they can take risks that a normal person won't be able to take. So those are some of the strengths of the C students.
Thank you. Okay. And we've said that after school, after he does so well in school, he comes out into the real world, and then he is getting employed by the C student. That must mean that there's some things that he didn't quite get right. So what would you say is the weakness of the A student?
Well, the A students are really good, but they have this major weakness, and that is that they are quite monotonous. Let me explain it this way. When they are in school, they are used to a structured system. The lecturer gives you an assignment, you do the assignment, you give the answer back to the lecturer, you get your scores, gives you another assignment, you do the assignments, gives you your scores, and that kind of thing builds them around a structured lifestyle. Now in the entrepreneurial world doesn't function on structure, it functions on change. And so because of that, the A students are not really good in that aspect. They are only used to that structured system. And because of that monotony, it makes them it makes it hard for them to adjust to change.
Sorry, I will not agree with the use of the word monotony to describe A students. Because instead of monotony, I would prefer you use the word probably like efficient. They are probably efficient. If you look at a company such as Toyota, You may talk about change in the business world, but if you look at the great companies that have stood the test of time, it's because they had a workforce that was literally made of 8 students. In a Toyota factory, we know that these Japanese people, most of them are studious, they are hardworking. So these are the people that are efficient, that are able to work on repetitive tasks very, very quickly. I won't call that monotony, I would rather call it efficiency.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Staying on you, will you now tell us the weaknesses of the C students? Because obviously they're not doing so well in school means that there must be some things they're lacking. So what would you say is the weakness of the C students?
Okay, the quotes are given by Robert Kiyosaki about A students working for C students. If you look at it, many people think it's this mythical kind of quote, but if we look at it deeper, we can see that we should not take it like a triumph of C over A. In all probability, an A student will do far better than a C student. Just few of the C students that will come out tops. This is because the C student normally looks for shortcuts. He's not ready to take the long road that leads to success. Instead, he's just looking for the shortest path to the answer. And this is one problem that I think they are facing. If they can correct this kind of behavior, probably they'll do well in the academic sectors also.
Okay, commenting on what you said, this shortcut attributes of the C students is actually what makes them very effective in the business world. We know when we're talking about business, we're talking about timeliness. When we're talking about the cost of the business, time is one of the important factors in it. If as a person you have a work to do, a job to do, and you can't do it on time, even if you did it with the cheapest possible method, that business is considered a failure, at least a mini failure. So this attribute of C students being finding shortcuts, it's actually a very big plus for us in the entrepreneurial world, in the business world.
Okay, thank you for that, OJ. I think it makes a lot of sense because we've actually heard Bill Gates say that he'd rather employ a lazy person to do a job because they tend to find easier ways to do it and faster ways.
Speaking of Bill Gates, he dropped out of school while thinking the lecturers could not teach him what he needed to know. So that must definitely put him under the classification of the C student. Don't you think so?
No, at all. I don't think so. Why would you call Bill Gates a C student? Why? Bill Gates went to Harvard University. Harvard University is one of the most difficult schools on the planet to enter. And Bill Gates had a SAT score of 1,590 out of 1,600. Bill Gates is not a C student in any form of way. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that Bill Gates most especially is proof that the best way to take the lead in today's society is then to combine both characteristics of both the A and the C student. So, will you please tell me in one word, what would you say is that thing that the A student has that we should take from him?
Detail. Attention to detail.
Precision. You have to be precise.
Ahez, will you tell us then in one word that attribute that the C student has that we should take from him?
Passion. You have to be passionate about what you do and follow it through.
And I also like to add that you have to be imaginative. You have to be imaginative and creative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there you have it. Be detailed, precise, imaginative, and passionate about what you do, and you are destined to take the lead. Taking some questions, and just in about 3 questions that have come to our panel here. Now the first one goes to Truth. David is asking, what about the B students? In the topic, we said that the A students work for the C students and then the B students work for the government. So he's asking, what about the B students? Why does he work for the government?
Corporate organizations have the money to employ the A students to work for them because they believe that the A students are managers. Then if the A student comes into your company, you will manage the company very well. So most of the jobs are taken away by the A students, leaving the B students to work for the government because they have no choice but to work for the government.
Okay. Thank you, Chuks. I hope that answers the question. Now, the second question goes to OJ, and David is asking, do A students always work for C students?
Well, in the real world, no. Reason being because, first off, a person's academic grade does not really define their intellectual capacity. A person can be a C student C students. They are bad in academics and bad in every other thing else. If you graduate from university, I assure you that, except by the grace of God, you're not really going to get A students to work for you. And as an A student, you should also have a level of creativity that will enable you to have prowess in the entrepreneurial world, so that you won't end up working for the C students and you can build a business all to yourself. So no, A students don't always end up working for C students.
Thank you for that, OJ. Okay, the next question goes to you. Now, at the end of all the questions that you answered before, we talked about merging them. So they would like to know what one can do, some tips that one can use to actually merge all the characteristics.
Okay, in order to do that, I believe that one has to be passionate, like my fellow here said it. You have to be passionate about what you are interested in. You also have to be imaginative. Don't let your imagination be limited to what is just taught in the four walls of the class. You have to be imaginative, and once you've gotten this imagination and vision correct, you then have to show precision in what you are doing. You have to be like a laser that can focus entirely on a particular subject. And after that, when you are focused, you can now filter out all the unnecessary things and then go to the detail, which I said. With those four things, you can actually take the lead in any place that you're going to in this world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. I really hope your questions have been answered, because that wraps up our show for today. Once again, I'm your host, Banisi Chidi.
Good day, we are Team A, and we're here to thank the following people for a successful production. Without those people, this production would not have been possible. So here goes.
Natalie Gates.
Rapid Focus.
Pizza Doctor.
MBU.
Tidola Photography.
Dallas Technology.
Diadem League Magazine.
Blight Gallery.
Carabo Nigeria.
Movement Music Industry.
Ozigbo Ilefe Clothing.
Mark Stan.
And finally, Pendulum.
And we are.
Team A!